Today we're going to go over George Seurat. George Seurat was a French painter. He was born December 1859 and he died in March 1891. So that was kind of the time period that we're talking about, okay? Because George Seurat was born around that time. All right, he is a French post-impressionistic painter artist, because he didn't just use paint, he also used oil pastels, Conte crowns, different kind of medium to put on what we're getting over, what we're talking about, because he was best known for devising, meaning making up, chronolinearism. So that's a hard word, and we'll get into it in a minute, but chronolinearism, say that 3 times. Chronolinearism, chronolinearism, chronolinearism. It's like a brain teaser, okay? I'm surprised I got through that. The other art that he came up with is Pointillism, which we're going to go and we're going to make our own Pointillism today, but before that we'll talk about it. Pointillism is the use of small colors of dots, and he used to take these small colors and he used to place them together, small dots, and place them together, and it would give the visual of like the image. You could see the entire image, and it would have hues and colors, color value, and you'd be able to see the color, but that would create the figure or the landscape. Okay, so you'd be able to walk up real close to the painting, and you would see all these dots and the use of his brush stroke that he used to create the colors, and you could see all the colors and the brush strokes and the dots, but when you were real close. But then when you would walk away, you could see all the trees and the sailboats of the land that were in the landscape that he was painting, and the figures that were sitting on the ground. So up close it looked like just dots, and then from farther away it would look like the true form it was. George Seurat's time period. So I like to look into inventors and what else was coming around and being invented during these painters and artists inventing their own artwork, and what was changing the way that they were doing their work. And a lot of times science and art went hand in hand. So that brings me to a prime example of an inventor that was around George Seurat's time period. Was in October 22nd, 1879, Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. So he invented the light bulb, and I was thinking in my head, like, Thomas Edison's wife could actually say, "Honey, you light up my life." Alright, so, but all seriousness, I think that I'm a good comedian. But anyway, another invention that came about was Coca-Cola, and that came about in May 1886. And the first original Coca-Cola was a medicine. It wasn't even thought of as a soda pop, soft drink, whatever you want to call it, okay? And then we have a third example, and that is the electric iron, invented January 1st, 1881 by, and thank God for, Henry W. Seeley, because before him everybody was wrinkly. Yes. Okay, so going on. George Seurat lived during a very cool time period, and during that time period he became famous for a certain artwork. That artwork being a Sunday on the island of La Grande Jetty. And I want you to take a look at that artwork, because this painting is about 2 chalkboards in school size. Like if you were in my school room, the chalkboards, the whiteboards, this painting is about the size of those 2 boards, okay? It's about as tall and as wide, And when you zoom in, when you walk really close to this artwork, you see all these dots of color. But when you move away from the artwork, you see the actual figures, the people hanging out, the way the ladies are dressed, so you can see everything. So, in saying that, I want to go to our Nearpod now, and I want us to talk about what you see for the next minute and a half. It's gonna be time there. We're gonna see what comes up and what people think. I want everyone to respond. This is part of your grade in how you respond and how you participate. So I need you to respond on the Nearpods. Make sure the link and everything is always in the Zoom chat if you need to get to it. So that's there, and you can automatically click on it in your Schoology. So just to let you know that. So I want to see on that board and pause. All right, so we're back. Thank you for all the responses. I'm super excited about them. Yes, there was so many people different. They're like differently dressed because of the time period, and that leads me to the next Nearpod questions on these boards. I want you to think long and hard about this, because this is the topic that we're going to be talking about and making our own artwork with this topic. So, who do you think is represented in this artwork? So do you think it's people that you see on an everyday basis? Is it black and brown people? Is it Asian people, Spanish people? What are the majority of the people represented in this artwork? So I want you to take a look at this artwork really closely, and I want you to write in the Nearpod who is represented in this artwork. And take a minute to do so. And we're back. Okay, so I had a lot of answers to that, and I want to talk about this. There are many, back in the day, museums were set up, and people of color, people, black and brown people, Asian people, they're Spanish people, all these people were not represented in these museums. In fact, today they're trying to change that. They're trying to change that by opening up, like Crystal Bridges is a museum in Arkansas, and they have a whole wing devoted to people of color, mostly black and brown people, and it's one of the most beautiful exhibits I've ever been through. And I was looking at that, and when I came back from Arkansas, I thought to myself, how could we change this? How can we can't change history the way it was, but we can change it for our future. And how do we do that? So one of the methods we're going to do is we are going to take the methods of George Seurat, and we are going to take his methods of pointillism, and we're going to create our own pointillism that represents us and more of the diverse community that we are. And we're going to do that by finding artwork and using images, and we're going to show examples of how to do that. But we're going to do that by using images that represent people of color. Maybe it's an artist, a poet, someone you look up to, a person that's making change. And we are going to do our own pointillism on top of that image, creating our own image, and therefore just kind of changing history in our own way by using this method of artwork and doing it for the future, doing it for us, for our diverse community. So that's one of my objectives, along with teaching you about George Seurat, because George Seurat was a great painter and a great artist, and he was a good inventor. And I feel now we can take that and use it for ourselves. So step one, we're going to watch an example of how to create a digital artwork in pointillism. That's step one. And step two, we're going to practice our pointillism in Nearpod with an image using in the background. And then we're going to go on to step 3 and step 4. And step 3 is finding our images. Step 4 is finishing our product. So without further ado, I'm excited to do this project with you. Let's go, guys.